Scent bird, I smell good, bish. And if you want to smell good like me, you'll click down below in the description box and get 15% off of your first month subscription service to Scentbird, which is a monthly subscription service that sends you perfumes, candles, hand lotions, and makeup. So you guys get down below, check out their website, and sign up. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondi Blue, and I am back this Sunday afternoon for another Iyanla Fix My Life. This episode is titled 3 Daughters, 1 Dead Son, and a Million Secrets. You guys, this was definitely an episode to learn from. And before I even get into the details, there were people who were tweeting me who felt as if Iyanla was giving the son, the dead son, a pass. And I really want to delve into that and what happened by the time we got to the end of the episode. The mom is Keisha, okay? And Keisha called Iyanla because she wanted to get a better relationship with her 3 daughters. Now, the one dead son died after suffering leukemia for years. He died at 14 years old. Before he died, he molested his youngest sister, Gabby, aka Caitlin. I was so confused about how somebody named Caitlin and we gonna call him Gabby, but okay. She was molested by her brother at a very young age. I think it was like around the age of maybe like 8. And happened all the way up until everybody found out about it. I think that was before he died, because the mom says that she found out 6 months before her son died, and he, died within that 6 months. She found out the same day. She found out through an argument with her middle daughter and her son. They got into an argument, and she overheard the middle daughter, Canisia, say, "Well, you molested Gabby." And the mama was like, "What?" And instantly she wanted to attack her son. She wanted to kill him because she knows what it's like to be molested. And also her son Terrell had been molested. And I really wanted to know what happened to where your son, who has leukemia and has been fighting for his life, for his entire 14 years of life, how did somebody, get close enough to him to molest him? Like, for real. And I want everybody to think about this for a second. I want you to think about what it must have been like for Terrell. And we're going to get into the daughters, but I really want people to stop ignoring what happened to him as if it's of no consequence because of what he did. And that's not true. That's not true at all. You have to deal with all of it. If you're going to deal with some of it, you have to deal with all of it. Yes, he was a rapist, but he was also a 14-year-old boy who had been dying who had been dying his whole life. Like with leukemia, and when you eventually die at 14, you've been basically terminally ill your entire life, okay? On top of the fact that he was also molested. So I have to wonder, what could possibly be going through the spirit of a 14-year-old boy? I really feel as if Terrell was trying to gain some type of control and molested his little sister in order to try to exercise some type of control. It was not right. It was wrong. It was the worst thing he could have possibly done to this family. And I'm not saying that he's not wrong, but I also want people to recognize that he was a broken 14-year-old boy who is dying. And I think there is some leeway and some room to look at him as her child, not to just look at him as a predator. And I think a lot, because me and Ashley was going back and forth a little bit, because Ashley felt like Terrell should have went to jail. And I don't feel that way, because I feel like, first of all, he was 14 years old, and what he did was terrible and awful. Please don't get me wrong. But unless he was about to live out the rest of his life, I don't think jail is what he needed to be. I'm sorry. For somebody that was already sick, somebody that was already dying, I felt like therapy needed to be had. I feel like he should have definitely been taken out of the house. But I don't think that jail is where a 14-year-old boy who's dying of leukemia should go for molesting his sister. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't give myself to that narrative. I just can't. I do feel like he should have been separated from the family. I do. But prison, jail, do people really understand what that is? Like what jail is, what it is to be in jail, what it is to be in prison? And, like I really want people to understand, like this is not like a hotel room that you're just going to send them to and they're going to be in alone. He wasn't going to get any of the care that he needed for having leukemia. Like I'm sure they would have had doctors that gave him medicine, but who wants, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like going through leukemia in jail, going through the last 6 months of your life in jail as a 14-year-old boy. Do we really feel like that was the best alternative in this very fucked up situation? And it brings me back to the mom, because I feel like the mom not allowing the children, because she was so in her emotions and because everybody was so worried about protecting the mom's feelings and protecting their relationship with the mom, or not having a relationship with the mom at all. I really felt like a lot of what was going on was everybody not communicating, just like Iyanla said. And when people don't communicate, things start to fester and kind of give life to a demon all on their own. And I don't mean like a real demon, y'all. Everybody just calm down. But I mean something that's causing turmoil within a person, within the daughters, within the mama. So I feel like at the end of the day, God had justice on Terrell, because Terrell died 6 months after that came out. Like, I don't know what else you could have asked for. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even the daughter said, she was like, I wished he had died. And then he did die. And then she felt bad about that. So even in their family, even though they are upset at him and want to pin him to the wall as this molester, they all still loved him. And that's the thing. Everybody wants to be like, oh, he should have went to jail. But what you don't understand is a part of them not healing is them not wanting to accept the fact that they actually did still love him and still missed him after he was gone, even though he did something that terrible. Let's get to Kanesia. Kanesia is the middle daughter. She's 25 years old, and you can just tell in her whole person that she feels unwanted and unloved. And, it sometimes breathes through. It's like angry. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how it looks. Like, she got that boot on her face, resting bitch face. Her and Gabby, Caitlyn, whatever, have that in common. They both hold such great anger. But guess what? Caitlyn was also raped. Caitlyn was raped at 15 when she went to a girlfriend's house for a sleepover. A male member of that friend's family pulled her by her feet down and raped her while her friend was in the room and acted like she didn't know what was going on. So Kanesia has had her own trauma, on top of the fact that her brother Terrell, who raped her baby sister, was her best friend. They were 13 months apart, and out of everybody in her family, that's who she felt closest to. So now Kanesia is dealing with the fact that her best friend is gone. The person that was closest to her in the world is gone, but also that she should be mad at him because of what he did to Gabby. It is a very, very conflicting, painful thing, I imagine, to have that type of anger and hurt about somebody that you love so much, and then for them to die and to know that their life was already a hard situation. Like Iyanla said, he probably hurt all the time having leukemia. Physically, probably felt bad all the time. And I really strongly feel like Terrell was trying to gain some control over his life by molesting his sister. And it's terrible, but it's a lot of the times what happens with especially men. It happens with women as well, but especially with men when they've been molested or raped and they feel like they need to regain their power back in some type of way. They do that to other people. And I feel like that probably was multiplied for Terrell because he had no control over his body. He had no control over his life. They talked about how every morning nobody knew if they were going to wake up and Terrell was going to be dead or not. And I think that we really have to think about that. We can't just ignore that because he did something terrible. Where is the compassion? There has to be compassion, even for people who do terrible things, because sometimes good people do terrible things. And when you're a good person and do something fucked up or terrible, you want people to forgive you. But then you're like, oh, I would never do something like that. Yeah, you might not do something like that, but you can cause a hurt to someone. Cause a hurt to someone that impacts their lives. But because it's not on this scale, you act like it means nothing. But to the person who's hurt, it definitely means something. So that's what I'm saying, is that I want everybody watching and who watched this episode to have some compassion for Terrell so that they can understand why the healing wasn't taking place. because you can't fully heal if you're still mad, if you're still angry, if you're still holding on to hate. You can't heal. And I think that was something that the audience learned as well as the family kind of at the same time, because you're mad, but by the time you get to the end, you realize that the healing had to take place. They had to acknowledge him as somebody they love, because that was the truth. Whether it was an ugly truth that they loved somebody who hurt them in this way, but they still loved him. And the fact that they would deny themselves a moment to mourn him because of their anger, it only messed them up even more on the inside. And I just want the people outside watching to realize that as well, that you have to have compassion. You can have borders, you can have boundaries with people that have hurt you in your life, but you have to in some way find some compassion so that you can forgive them, so that you can forgive yourself. And it's real, y'all. It's really real. Kanesia really hurt me the most, because I feel like Kanesia has gone through her whole life feeling bullied by her family. And that is something that in a way she created in her own mind. We're going to get to that. So Alicia is the oldest sister. She's 29, looks the most like the mom. She feels like Terrell should have went to jail. She feels like her sister should have got counseling and he should have went to jail. In my mind, I'm sure that it wouldn't have been as simple as, oh, we went to the police and said he did this, now he's in jail until he dies. I don't think it's that simple. But I do understand Alicia being upset that he was still in the same household and that Gabby had to walk around and be in the same space with her rapist. That I have a problem with. That I feel like is fucked up. I don't understand why, once it was found out that that's what happened, Terrell couldn't have stayed with another family member. He couldn't have been removed from the house. I feel like something should have taken place to where he was put in hospice. I know they didn't have a lot of money like that. I know hospice costs money. But something should have taken place to where Gabby did not have to walk around in a house with the person that raped her. I really feel that way. And I just feel like jail wasn't the best alternative for that. And that's just my opinion and how I feel about it. And that's what it is. Kanesia knew about Terrell and Gabby. Gabby told Kanesia because Kanesia and Terrell were so close, and she felt that Kanesia would tell him to stop. And even though Kanesia might have told him to stop, he didn't stop. So he kept molesting Gabby because Kanesia never said anything. Gabby thought that if she told her, she would tell somebody or something would happen from her telling Kanesia. But nothing ever happened. And I think deep down she resents her sister for not helping her. Just like she resents her mom for forcing her to still live and be around her brother for that last 6 months. But the reason why Gabby didn't tell her mom is because the brother all the time was like, you better not tell mom. You know mom will be real mad. You know mom will be upset if you tell her, so don't tell mom. And I feel as if him putting fear in her and also seeing how Kanesia was probably treated by the mom. She did not want her relationship with her mom to be severed in any kind of way. So for her, I think that keeping it quiet was convenient, so she didn't have to deal with her mom's emotions. Even throughout the episode, every time her mom found something out, she was crying and and falling apart, and the daughters are just sitting there strong and stale-faced, completely detached. And I feel like that is a representation of probably what's happened their whole lives, them having to be responsible for their mother's emotions. And instead, their mother really needed to stand strong and eat that shit, because at the end of the day, her pathology is what was passed down to her son Terrell, that was passed down to Kanesia, that was passed down to Gabby. So I feel like when you're looking at a family and only one person in this family hasn't been raped, you have to look at yourself as a part of the problem, as the mother, for not having conversations with your children to let them know this is what happened and I want you to have a different life, so I want you to protect yourself. This is what happened to me as your mother. And I feel like we're starting to enter a time frame when if something like that happens in a family, instead of pushing it under the rug and not talking about it, that's nobody's business, or she's too young to know about that, Fuck out of here. She's not too young to be taken advantage of. She's not too young to be raped. So she's not too young to know what happened to her mom so that she can protect herself. And Iyanla always asks these mamas when their children were molested or sexually assaulted, were they ever talked to about their bodies, about sex? And a lot of the times they say no. And I don't understand. I don't understand that, because I feel like that is one of the first things you need to start preparing your child for once they become, of age where they're out of your sight. You need to start talking to them about their bodies and what people will do to their bodies if they don't know the truth about what can happen. If they don't understand what sex is, somebody can tell them we're playing a game and take advantage of them. And they're stuck feeling terrible about whatever has happened to them without really understanding why. And I think that, and another thing is not having a protection of your parent, not having a comfort of knowing that if something like this happens to me, I can go to my parents and they will fix it. They will help it. They will do whatever they have to do. And that's something that I felt growing up. And I feel like when kids don't feel that, they don't feel like they can actually share. And sometimes even when parents do tell them, they feel like they can't share. But it's the parents' responsibility to take notice and do something when they take notice. Because a lot of the parents will say, oh, I saw a change. You saw a change. You yourself went through this and you didn't think for a moment that maybe something prompted that change. You didn't think to delve deeper and find out what was going on. I'm the type of person where I feel like I'm going to lock my kid in the fucking room with me. All right. So we're going to sit here until we talk about whatever the fuck the problem is. Okay? Okay? Because I don't like the fact that I feel like there's something going on with my child, my baby, and I don't know what it is. And I'm your mom. I want to fix it. I want to help. I want to help you deal with it. I want to do whatever I can to make it better for you. So help me. Tell me what's wrong. And I feel like that's a conversation that needs to be had more often. Now, there was confusion about when Kanicia found out, because Kanicia told Iyanla that Gabby told her about the rape when she was 16. Gabby said she told Kanicia about the rape when she was 13. So even the time frame is different. And I feel like Kanicia in some type of way feels guilty about the fact that she didn't do something to stop it. And therefore, there are all these layers in between she and Gabby that keep them separate from one another, viewing each other in cliques. Because when we sat down with Alicia and Kanicia, they look at their mom and Gabby like they're a clique, when really the mom is trying to make up for what happened to Gabby. I really truly feel like that. I feel like she feels like in some type of way she allowed it to happen, or she wasn't paying attention. She even said later on in the episode that because of whatever tumultuous relationship she was having with the man or with their father, that she would spend more time at work and less time at home, meaning that a watchful eye was not on her children when this was happening. So she felt responsible. And in some ways, she is responsible. But as a parent, you can only do so much, and parents make mistakes, and they also mirror what they feel inside about themselves onto their children. And Keisha did that to Kanicia. I told y'all Kanicia grew up feeling very separate from the rest of her family. She felt bullied. Well, apparently, Kanicia was hanging out with a bunch of thoughts. And word around the curb was that Kanicia was a part of the thoughtness of it all. So the mom would call Kanicia whore, bitch, slut, call her these things because that's how she saw herself, as someone who was also taken advantage of and sexually molested for an extended period of time, it seemed like. So everything she was saying to her daughter, she had already said in her mind about herself. And sometimes parents do that. And the thing that made me upset with the mom is that if you looked at your daughter and you felt that there was something going on with her that in some way mirrored your situation, why would you have not talked to her about it and at least had like a day where it was just y'all two, so Kanicia could not feel like she didn't have a mom in this situation? Because I feel like she felt so alone after, especially after the brother died. She really felt alone, and I'm bothered by that because I could just see it all over her. The way she carries her grief is the way it seems Gabby carries her anger. And it's just, y'all, it really broke my heart. to see how all of these things were taking place with these young women and nobody was talking about it. And that's the problem. We have to start talking about these things. We have to start expressing how we feel and understanding, just like Iyanla proved to them in her exercise, that everybody can be in this family and have a viewpoint about the same situation, and it can be totally different, and that is okay. Your perception of the situation is just how you understood it, but that does not make the other person's perception any different or a lie because they perceived it in a different way. A lot of the times when people don't have the same truth as us, we want to call them a liar, and that's not what it is. The facts are the facts, you know? The facts are the facts, but at the same time, you can process those facts differently. So, like I said, Kanesia was the product of her mom mirroring onto her, but Kanesia was also mirroring onto her family. Kanesia wasn't having sex with boys with her friends. Actually, she was having sex with one of her girlfriends. So she's bisexual, and secretly, and she expressed this to them, that she feels as if she's forcing an attraction with men because she feels like that's what she's supposed to do. But really, she probably likes women more. And because she was raped, she feels more comfortable with women. And her mom makes jokes about gay people sometimes, but she also knows that her mom isn't really homophobic. She just makes comments, which people do, especially in their own home. We make comments about people stereotypically, but that does not mean we harbor hate for them. And I think that even before comments might have been being made, a separation was created between Keisha and Kanesia so that Kanesia didn't feel comfortable saying who she really was or what she really felt because she'd already been called a whore and a slut and a bitch by her mom. My mom never talked to me like that. Like, I'm going to just go ahead and say that right now. She got mad at me. My daddy said little bitch one time referring to me, but he never actually, well, one time, okay? That hurt my heart too. One time. And I think he regretted it too, because I ain't speak to him for a long time for that shit. You could be right in a situation, but at the end of the day, I'm still your child. Don't address me in that way, because it shows a disrespect for me in a way that I would never disrespect you as my parent. With her demeaning her daughter in that way, it made it so that her daughter didn't feel comfortable saying that she was gay. Because I think she's gay. I don't think she's bisexual. I think she's had sex with men, probably involuntarily and voluntary, but I still think that she's probably gay and just never really wanted to admit it to herself or admit it to her family. But when it came out that she actually had, she was actually having sex with girls, everybody just was like, well, Lord, hold up, and laughed, and it wasn't a big deal. And even though it didn't show on her face, I wonder if there was some relief there from being able to say what the truth was without getting some type of backlash from it. Because her mom seemed relieved that that's what it was. Like, goddamn, you could have been told us that. Gabby has low self-esteem, and she has 2 children at 21 years old. Her pathology has already started to show itself. She doesn't have any friends. She can't really form any real relationships. And if she doesn't heal what's going on with her, then she's going to be a bad example for those 2 children that she's brought into the world. And she's a beautiful girl. All of them are very beautiful. So I hope that the healing that Iyanla is giving them, that they really go through with it and really get therapy to deal with the things that have happened to them so that they can be better people, because they're beautiful on the outside, and I'm sure beautiful people on the inside. But when you put up so many layers to protect yourself against people and all the things that have already happened to you, I'm sure it is so hard to be emotionally open and available to love and affection from other people, even from your siblings, And Kanesia went over there and hugged Gabby while she was crying, and I was like, thank you, Iyanla. Make that happen. That needed to happen. It's just a sad story. But one of the other things that they mentioned was that when Kanesia went to college and Gabby had her first baby, that the mom wasn't helping out with Kanesia as much anymore. And she felt like it was because her mama don't love her mama don't care about her. But really what happened was her mom got a pay cut. Her mom went from making $19 an hour to $10 an hour and had a daughter and a grandbaby. And I believe that the son might have still been alive at some point. I'm not sure, because she said, I couldn't quit the job because I had to bury my son. I couldn't afford to bury him. I didn't want to lose my house. She had a lot on her plate. And I feel like she probably had a lot on her plate all on her own. So she was not able to fully give herself or deal with her children the way she should have. So I think it's important for parents to deal with the issues that they have, because we don't like to hear this, but if you don't take care of yourself first, you can't really give your children all of what they really need of you. And that is important. Mama should have dealt with her issues a long time ago. Mama should have left that job when they cut her pay. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, Mama. I wouldn't have stayed at no job that cut my pay from $19 to $10. Another thing, people, get life insurance on your children. I know everybody don't make a lot of money, but life insurance is not that expensive. I would suggest that when you have a child, please get life insurance on your child. Please get life insurance on your spouse. It does not cost that much money. I was shown that you should have your life set up in a way that if you pass away, especially if you have a family, a home, children, that you have something to offer them when you're gone, so that they're not trying to pay your hospital bills and trying to keep the house. You don't want anybody to lose their lifestyle because a death happened in the family. And I'm not selling y'all no insurance, but I'm just telling y'all that what she didn't do, y'all need to do. All in all, she finally got them to just speak out what their issues were. And she said that I can't give you a driver's license, but I can give you a learner's permit. And what that meant was Iyanla's whole point of having these women come was so that they can say the things to each other that they could not say, and for them to understand what was being said. Because sometimes we say things in a way and we're not really saying what we truly meant when we said it. Just like when Gabby told Kanesia about the rape, she was actually saying, please tell somebody, please make it stop. She didn't say that to her, but that's what she meant. So I just think that the whole point is to be honest, to talk to your children, to talk to your family members, to talk period, to get shit out, write it out, say it, deal with your issues, and stop hiding them and thinking that, oh, I put that in the back of my mind, that's not bothering me anymore. It's not true. And eventually it's going to show itself in another way. It'll show itself in a way you have relationships with people. It'll show itself in a way you handle people at your job. It'll show itself in a way that you take care of yourself. It'll show itself in a way you keep your home. Everything that happens to us that we don't deal with will come out in the wash anyway. All right? So, so to speak. So I hope y'all enjoyed this review of Iyanla Fix My Life. I hope that it in some way reached somebody. I hope I said something that helped somebody. And I hope that nobody takes me having compassion for Terrell as excusing anything. Because if the motherfucker hadn't died, if he wasn't sick, if he didn't have leukemia, if he wasn't going to die in 6 months, then by all means, lock his ass up, okay? But I really feel like the fact that so much was going on with him and the way the mama probably felt about her child, you can't look at her and say, oh, you should have sent your sick, dying child to jail. You can't say that because you have no idea what it feels like to be in that situation. I don't, but we can't do nothing about it now. You know, he's dead and they're still here, and all we can do is work from here, heal from here. And every one of them had to speak to his picture at the end. And what they had to speak to was the fact, and what they said that I got from it, most of all, was that they loved him and they missed him. And deep down, they didn't think he was a bad person, but they can't reconcile who they felt he was with what he did. I hope I got everything out. I hope I explained everything. You know, I hope it touched somebody. I hope it did something. But anyway, y'all, it was emotionally draining. I love y'all. I want y'all to have light. I want y'all to have peace. I want y'all to seek what makes y'all happy in life. I want at all costs for everybody to be a light in this world, okay? So do your best today to be happy, to be a light to your family members, to your children, to your spouse, to your loved ones, to your friends, to yourself, okay? Especially to yourself. So take care of you. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one.